smiling little boy, jumping puppy word.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Mica Talks About Professionalism. And today's podcast where we dive into a real life situation where students face and reflect on them with honesty, empathy, and tough personal experiences. I'm your host Mica, and today's episode is all about conformity, ethics, and conflict resolution. So we're going to talk about two scenarios that might hit close to home, especially if you've ever felt the pressure to fit in or struggle to speak up in a group. So we'll meet Emma, a student who's faced with cheating culture, and Alex, who's drowning in group work expectations. So I'll not only analyze their situation but also relate them to things I've personally felt in school and teamwork. So get comfy and we're going deep into it. So yeah, let's start with Emma. So Emma is a high school. So her classmates cheat quietly, sneakily, but regularly also. The teacher is strict, of course, but the students are smarter about hiding it. And Emma doesn't want to be part of that, but everyone is doing it. It's hard not to feel like the odd one out, right? So if she refuses, she'd be risking becoming an outcast. But if she joins, she sacrifices her values. So honestly, I remember a time like this. So there was a test I really studied hard for. And during the exam, I noticed people around me whispering answers and tapping signals and even passing notes, study notes. So I had two choices, of course. Mind my own business and keep answering, or just copy to keep up. I choose the first, of course. It wasn't easy, but I felt in the room a lot of cheaters. I felt so proud, and that feeling lasted longer than any grade. Yeah. So let's answer the first question. What ethical standards should Emma uphold? Emma should commit, of course, academic integrity, personal or being honesty, and fairness, of course. Cheating isn't about the answers. It's about whether you respect your learning journey. Giving in might seem harmless, of course, but it teaches you to hide, to lie, and to depend on shortcuts. And when we think about fairness, it's also unfair to those who study hard and follow the rules. So next question is, should Emma conform or refuse? Simple answer. Of course, refuse. Yes, the pressure is intense, but values doesn't shine when everything's easy. They shine when they were tested. So if she confirms, it would be a compliance. She'd only be going along because of the pressure and not because she agrees with the cheating. And next question. What type of conformity Emma put in this situation? Of course, it's obvious. It's definitely compliance. She wouldn't be cheating out of belief or even match the group values, but just to stay socially safe, I believe. That's not a real argument. It's a survival mode, especially in school. So, the last question for Emma's situation. What conflict management style would be best? This is where it gets interesting. Emma could try avoiding if she's not really ready to confront everyone about it. Just keep doing her own thing, or she could also be collaborating. If she has a close friend within those people who cheat also, maybe she can try to open up and say, I know this is common, but I feel really guilty even thinking about it. So that might spark a change rather, even in one person. It always starts somewhere. Moving on to the next scenario, which is about Alex in a group project pressure. So now let's talk about his situation, of course. Alex gets assigned to a group project. His teammates, super close, super tight. They value unity, but maybe a little bit too much because they expect Alex to pick up more work. Possibly because he's quieter or because he's not part of the inner circle. Also, it was mentioned, of course, Alex prefers working alone. And now he feels drained and overwhelmed by those expectations. Raise your hand if you've ever been the responsible one in a group. Me. Yeah, I've been there. There was rather a one project or maybe a lot of situation, I don't know anymore, where I ended up editing everyone's slide. Yeah, there were a lot of excuses. So I'd rather, yeah, just do the work. Writing half of the report, doing their scripts also on what to say on front, and being told, you're good at this anyway. So you do it yourself. Yeah, I heard that one. So I didn't speak up. I regretted it. And Alex's situation hits hard a lot for me. So let's answer the questions. What ethical standard should Alex consider? Okay, so for that question, let's start with the three basic ethics. Alex is stuck between being fair to himself and being fair to the group. So in a professional way, even if it's just in school, we value three big things. Fairness. No one should do more or less than what is expected. Second is respect. Each member's effort, time, and well-being matters. And lastly is accountability. If you agree to something, you should follow through. So now, in one of my past experiences on group projects, I remember being the go-to person because people thought, oh, she's smart, she'll handle everything. So at first, I didn't say anything because I want to avoid tension. But I learned in the long way that being professional doesn't mean being silent. So it means speaking up respectfully when something is off. So Alex should ask, is it fair that I'm doing more? Or is it respectful to my time and energy? So I believe those answers will guide him or Alex to his next move. Okay, moving on to the next question. Should Alex conform or assert himself? What kind of conformity is this? So here's the big decision. Should he go with a group or stand with his ground? So if he chooses to conform, there are three types rather, he might fall into. First is compliance. This is when you really don't agree to it, but you do it anyway to avoid or gain approval. Rather, avoid conflict or gain approval. Next is internalization. You actually believe in what the group stands for, so you contribute because you think it's right or it's the best. Lastly is identification. You want it to be accepted by the group or your team, so you go along with it. You go along with them rather. So even if you're unsure or being unfair to yourself. So if I were Alex, I'd ask myself first, am I doing this because I believe in a team's goal, or am I just afraid to think that I'm afraid that they'll think I'm lazy or something similar to that question. Honestly, I've been in that situation. So I've been in a compliance mode before, saying yes even though I wanted to say no. So it drained me basically. So if Alex is just going to keep the peace, that's not sustainable. But if he believes in the group project and values teamwork, then that's internalization and that's really okay. So it all depends on his move or in your move if you've ever been to that situation. Okay, so for the third question, why would Alex take on more work? Is it just for compliance, of course, internalization, or identification? So let's get deeper into the why. If Alex takes on the extra work because he's worried about being left out or judged, that's compliance. This is common in group where one person is quieter or not part of being the tight knit circle. So I've felt in this org work before, especially when I was new and it didn't seem or didn't want to be seen like I wasn't the team player in a group. So now if he genuinely believes in the value of teamwork and thinks that this is a temporary load for the great good, yeah, that's internalization. That's actually being a responsible or mature person. But only if it didn't harm his mental health. So then next is there's identification. Doing it to feel included. Yeah, to feel included. So this one is a tricky one. It's easy to think that we need to change ourselves to fit in. But professionalism also means having boundaries. So my take, Alex might be operating out of compliance. And if that's the case, it might of course lead to frustration if he doesn't speak up. Now for the last question. What conflict management should Alex use to address the issue? Now here's the solution. And how should Alex deal with this? There are a few conflict management styles. Accommodating. You give in to keep the peace. Competing rather. You push for your own way. Next is avoiding. You ignore the issue. Next is compromising. You meet halfway. You meet halfway rather. Next is collaborating. I believe it's where you work together for the best solution. The best choice? Of course, it's collaborating. It's not always easy to initiate that talk, but it pays off really well. If I remember once during my capstone project or any heavy project load, I was being overwhelmed. And instead of staying quiet, I calmly told my groupmates, "Hey, I'm handling a lot more than I can manage. Can we talk about rebalancing the task or contribute more to your own?" So yeah, to my surprise, they didn't push back. They weren't just aware, so they were really willing to get that contribution too. So for Alex, collaboration shows maturity and professionalism. It says, I don't care about the group, or I rather I care about the group, but I also care about fairness. So that's something his team and himself should respect. Okay, so there you have it. Two very real, very relatable stories about standing your ground when pressure to confirm feels overwhelming. Whether it's Emma facing silent cheating or Alex is drowning in group work, the lesson stays the same. Your value matters the most and your voice deserves to be heard. That's for my end. Everyone is or has the right to speak up. That's what I've learned along the way on my own too. Learn to speak up. And yeah, that's it. Thank you for turning into Mica Talks about professionalism. If you've enjoyed this episode, share it with a friend who might be a little experiencing with the same situation or might need a little confidence boost today. Stay honest, stay brave, and don't forget you've got this. Bye everyone, and thank you for listening for my podcast episode.